So I'm here with Jean Marie, who was a past study school student, who's here to kind of share her experience in college and going through study school, so that anyone who's interested can kind of get a feel directly from someone who has gone through it. So you can make your decision whether or not this is something that you want to join us in the next round. So Jean Marie, if you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your college story, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jean Marie, and I just turned 50. And in doing so, as most people do at some point in their lives, kind of take evaluations of, what they've done in the past and maybe where they want to go in the future. And I do have a college degree. I have a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science. I was pre-med when I first started school and was quickly one of those weed out girls. It was the mid-'80s, and certainly not a focus on the STEM career and women in that field at all back then. And I got a C in biology, in large part because I didn't realize that I was supposed to be at lab on a Wednesday afternoon. I was hanging out at the pool watching the cute guys and didn't realize that there was a separate lab day. So part of it was onus on myself. But in large part, I think I was a little ill-advised that I just thought I could never get into med school with a C in biology. And my faculty advisor said, yeah, it's probably time that you explore something different, of which I did and landed into a major in politics. But in the course of the past 6 months or so, I had been thinking about, what if I went back to school? My youngest child is 15. She's semi-independent, and I didn't have any other obligations standing in my way, so I decided to go back to school and pursue a Bachelor's of Science in Biology at my local college. So the first semester back was this past fall, and I had a full course load. I took a full 12 hours of credit hours or course hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So before you enrolled in study school, what were you struggling with as a returning college student?
Oh, well, certainly the fact that I hadn't been in a college classroom for 20 some odd years was a huge learning curve for me. I had a thought that I would be the oldest person in the classroom and that there would be a huge disconnect, which actually I found to be a little different. But that was certainly a struggle for me just because I've been so removed from a learning situation at all. Mm-hmm. That was a huge struggle for me. Another concern that I had was certainly being able to retain the information that I was learning. I do have a little mild cognitive impairment due to medication that I take. So that was something that was utmost concern for me. And to be able to figure out how to even learn how to learn, I guess, was really how I found your program. And it was a YouTube video that I had been researching how to take notes. And I think it was a mind map or something to that nature of a video that I saw. Oh, okay, this makes sense. And I think because the other thing that I was looking for was specifically geared towards someone who had been through science and math courses, which are my more challenging course loads, and that's exactly what I had to take. So those were some of the struggles that I had, and certainly the huge struggle for me is time management in terms of how to fit in a course load. In my head, I thought, oh, okay, I'm not doing anything on a Tuesday and Thursday. Sure, I could sit in class. And I didn't really think through that there would, strangely enough, be like a test that I would have to take, or my background of my other undergraduate degree was heavy in writing. So that was my frame of reference. So when the first exam rolled around, or the first course of exams rolled around right after Hurricane Irma, I might add, which was another crazy stressful time for me living in Florida, that I did not know how to study. And so as a result, I wasn't getting the grades that I wanted. So those were the struggles that really kind of led me to find you.
Awesome. And what was your study process like prior to study school, if you had one? A lot of the students that I talk to will say, you mean lack of?
Well, I mean, so this is not my first rodeo. So I basically did what I've always done before. And so that was just kind of rewriting my notes. It was very time consuming. I'll just say that. And part of that is, I think, because it's been so long, but I was spending almost all of my time, any free time that I had was studying. So that might look, different classes kind of had a different feel to that, but it was rereading notes, doing a lot of redoing. I would recopy all my notes. And so I wasn't seeing the time that I was what I figured my investment of time was not producing the results that I wanted to see. So I felt that I was, and especially at the beginning, because it was so new, I just felt like I was a chicken with my head cut off and not really knowing what to do.
Yeah.
So what I felt was a lot of busy work that I was studying wasn't effective.
Yep. And so you ended up finding my videos, landed in the challenge, I think it was, is where you kind of really dove into interacting with me, that 3-day challenge that I had. And then, so going in with the struggles that you had, with you feeling like I'm putting in a lot of work and I'm not getting the grades it is that I want, what were you hoping that study school would help you with?
I think I went into it certainly with the time management aspect of, if I could figure out how to get the results that I wanted to see in less time, that would be really great. So for me, it wasn't, oh my gosh, I've got to get all A's. That wasn't my intent, to be a 4.0 student and how to get to that.
I have to say that those are my favorite kind of students. While I love it when everyone says that, when they get the A's, my favorite kind of students are the students that actually want to learn how to get better with whatever it is that they're doing. And so every time I hear someone say, I didn't go into this wanting to have a 4.0, I just wanted to not study for as long as I was studying. Those are my favorite.
Exactly. I don't have and the other part of it is I don't have time. Nobody got time for that. I mean, I have a family, and fortunately I'm not in a position where I'm not working full time, but I still have a very busy life and want to feel like I have a life.
Yep.
So I just felt that I didn't have a life. Every time I was turning around, I was feeling and that was pressure that I put on myself. That wasn't from anyone else, but I wanted to do well. And I was feeling stuck that I didn't quite know how to make that happen for myself. So I think that what ended up happening was my idea of what I thought what I needed, which was time management, really ended up being more than just that, more of a shift in my thought process. And it really was a light bulb moment for me when some things that my personal belief system started aligning with what some of the things that you were saying. And I was like, oh, okay, I think this is the right path that I'm on. And just a mind shift of myself to say, you know what, I can so do this, rather than, rather than in the negative. And then I just did this mind shift to switch to the positive. And some few specific things that you spoke about in your course that really did a huge turn for me, where I was getting what the class average was. I'll just use one example. In my biology course, I was getting the average test grade of what everybody was. And then when I started implementing a few things that you suggest in your course and a little mind shift of myself, I was the one that was setting the bar with what the highest grade was. So then that was very encouraging, and I was seeing results that I mean, that's the proof is, can you change the pattern of what you've been doing and seeing results? And I was doing that.
Yeah.
Just for a few simple tweaks that you had shared that were seemingly innocuous that really made the difference.
Yeah. And that's what I really aimed at with study school is I do give a lot, but I don't expect anyone to apply everything that I give in the exact same manner that I give it. It's sort of just like a toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the stuff that could work. Pick and choose what you think would work best for you based off of where you're currently at and what your class is based off of. And so keeping that in mind and knowing how you started with your study process, how did it change after going through study school?
Well, I would definitely say, number one, first and foremost, I do not spend as much time with as I was doing at the beginning of the semester. So that right there is huge. I've also included some resources that you suggest in your, as through the process, and those things, like, for example, just a personalized, a hand-picked study group that quickly became like noticeable that I had a posse, to the fact that my professor even noticed that I was like, doing this. And he even said to me, this is a great tip. I've never seen anybody do this before. So they're even noticing that there are skill sets that I've been using that are effective, that they have noticed, and they're asking me, what are you doing? So
that's awesome.
So that's kind of cool, right? So I shared with them your YouTube videos, and so we're just spreading all that love all the way around.
That's awesome.
Those are just some very effective ways that I have found that have been really, now not every class, I have decided not to do that in every single class, but
right.
And that's where I think part of the process of being able to figure out what type of learner you are, what's effective for you, where you need the help. And so different classes look different. I certainly did not do that in my math class or my chemistry class or my writing class. Or, there's different needs for different courses. And I think that's what the beauty is about your program, is that there's not just one way to do it. There's several different ways or different tips and techniques that you provide, that if people give them a chance, I think that they'll find that every single one of them is effective in different circumstances.
Yes, I love that you said that. And you worded it so beautifully, better than I could have done. That's awesome. So what has been the biggest change since you enrolling in study school? And if you can get specific about, the mindset shifts that you did make, any specific tools. And also I'd love it if you feel comfortable, because your grades are amazing this semester, if you want to share that with everyone, so that so students can get like the people like to know, well, okay, what were your grades in the end? Yeah,
that's fair. That's a fair question. So I would say the biggest change in terms of just really specific. So for example, in my biology class, which honestly was my biggest focus since I decided I wanted to be a biology major. And so that one, I really changed my habits, my study habits the most. What I found, and part of that too, is that I think after, there's a little blip that you do about figuring out the personality type of your professor. If I could say, that one tip for me helped me out immensely, because I just assumed that everybody was going to be the same. And so that helped me figure out the personality types. And then from there, I could figure out how to approach them personally. And fortunately, the college that I go to, it's rather small. And so they do encourage a relationship. with your professors. So I was really able to utilize that piece very well to figure out how to approach my professors for help. So that one thing helped me out immensely, and I did kind of utilize my professors a lot more than I ever did my first go round in college. So that one tip was utilizing my professors. The second tip I have was for the establishing your own study group and setting real clear parameters about what that looks like. Another one that I used and specifically in my chemistry course was the course syllabus and dissecting the course syllabus to figure out what you need to study if you don't have a professor that tells you anything.
Mm-hmm.
In my chemistry course, there was a little bit of a language barrier, so it was a lot of self-directed learning. So that tip really, I would never have, I don't think I've ever, first of all, I don't even know if I got syllabuses the first go around. I don't think they existed in the 80s. I don't know. But I mean, the only thing I've ever looked at was, which most people do, is like, okay, how am I going to get an A in this class? And when are the tests? Mm-hmm. And everything else I just had never looked at before. So being able to dissect that, to use that as a learning tool was, I think, the third thing that I really took out from the school, the study session classes that you do. So in terms of the mind shift, I think that the one thing that helped me is I was in this, this is really hard. I could hear myself saying, like, people are like, how's it going? Because it's in my crowd, it's kind of like, what are you doing this for? On many different levels. They're like, I'm not quite understanding. So I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it is different than what I had experienced before. And it was hard and it was a lot of work. So I kept getting into this, oh my gosh, it's so hard. And this is like so much work, and just that mind shift. And so what I was finding is that I was like, okay, this is hard. And so I wasn't seeing the possibility to say, this is cool, this is really neat. And so I think when I started seeing some changes in terms of how the results that I was getting paired with some of the conversations that we were having, I realized, you know what, my mindset is that it's going to make or break you. And so I could see as I was getting better results, my mind shift was changing. And then I was that person to come around in the math class to say, we are all math geniuses sitting around me. So this is what everyone else needs to be around in my space, that we are math geniuses. And so, and then, a lot of people scoff at that and they would have negative. I'm like, well, then don't sit next to me if you don't think that you're a math genius. So that's just kind of how that progressed. And that was something that was tremendously important as part of the whole process.
Mm-hmm. It's really the key, because it's like, if you don't have that shift, it's really hard to apply a lot of the skills that I teach, because it all depends on the work. You're not going to see the results unless you show up, and you have to have the belief that if you do the work, the results will come.
Yes, exactly. So if you're not putting the effort in, then you can't expect the results that you want. And likewise too, I mean, sometimes you do feel like you're putting the effort in, and that was kind of my case, was that I felt like I was putting the effort in and I wasn't getting the results. So I needed to figure out a way to change what I was doing in order for that to align. And part of that was changing my mindset.
Yep. That's awesome. Anything you want to say to students who are considering enrolling in study school? Any concerns that you had before you actually jumped in? If you want to just speak to that, we'll kind of end there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I guess I could tell you what my grades are since you asked. And
I forgot.
I know. So I had an A in chemistry, an A- in biology, an A- in my writing course. I had a scientific writing course. I got one of the highest grades in my biology lab because I actually went to lab. Hey, what do you know? What do you know when that happens? That works. And then I got a B in college algebra.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I would say this. I mean, I wasn't sure what the setup was going to be. I mean, I've done kind of some of these in different subjects of kind of enrolling in a course to learn whatever online, right? And what I love about your approach, Clarissa, is that it's so personal. So a lot of times, you know, I pop on these things where it's like a 6-week course of whatever the subject might be. One of them I did like aromatherapy.
Yeah.
And it was a canned course. So there was no talking like this. It was just very vanilla, if you will, very canned, although it was a great subject matter and I learned a lot, it wasn't personalized. So what I was so surprised about your program is that it is personalized. I actually know you.
Yep.
I get to interact with you in real time at a time that's mutually convenient. So that is, and I really did enjoy learning from the other people in the group. So that was something that I think was really helpful as well. Although, you know, we're all come from different disciplines. I think most of the people that were in my group were in some sort of a nursing program, it seemed. But we still had commonalities and still had the same joys and successes that really helped realize that I wasn't the only person that was looking for a change.
That's awesome. And it makes me really happy to hear you say that, because that was the number one goal that I had for study school, was for it to feel like I was there for you and a support system. And so to hear you say that, like, just warms my heart so much, because that was really what I was aiming for.
Oh, good. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. You know, it's a really fabulous program and well worth the minimal investment that I think it provides.
Awesome. Yeah. And you got access to this round. Did you know that?
I did not. Maybe I did. I
haven't sent out the email to you guys because we're starting next week, but you guys keep rolling in, which is awesome.
Yeah, so that's great, because it's not like it's just a one and done thing. You're always constantly looking for new avenues and different learning techniques and different things to bring to the table. So it's nice to be able to still have access to that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and being so vulnerable with us with everything that you experienced. That was the first time I heard your story about you not going to lab in the 80s because you wanted to look at boys.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you're at school in Florida sometimes.
That's funny.
I mean, and kind of with experience, certainly with age comes wisdom. So, I don't, this time around, I don't have to worry about that at all. But it's cute that, you know, I have this little group of I'm college mom. That's what they call me.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I have college kids. Not that I need any more, but I feel that, you know, a lot of that has to do with the skill set that I brought from learning from your program.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.